From day one, we are told who we should be, how to live, and what's acceptable. Before we even have a chance to discover ourselves, our society has already drawn those lines for us. But what happens when those lines are keeping us from knowing and embracing who we truly are? Welcome to Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox, a podcast about unpacking and unlearning everything that's kept you from living as your true self. Through honest conversations about your internal emotional landscape, sexuality, coming out later in life, relationships, and the journey to self-acceptance, we break free from the boxes we never chose. Hello and welcome to Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox. I'm so excited I have Jen as my guest today, and Jen is a late bloomer. I thought it would be great to have you on, Jen, and dive into some of these questions that you're asking yourself and wondering about and really get curious. And I know a lot of them right now are around compulsory heterosexuality and how has this construct affected me and how am I still living under this construct, and how is it kind of silently informing how I am in the world?
Great. Yeah, thank you for having me. Those are my questions. Compulsory heterosexuality is something that's new to me. I've just heard the term, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago. And yeah, so you kind of know it, that's the world, but to actually have a term and to have people really looking at it as a construct. And I, kind of through my adult child, learned more about it. So it's interesting how this young adult generation is informing their elders. So I've been exploring it a little bit, and I listened to your podcast with a younger woman, I think on Monday. I can't remember her name. I was thinking about it and thinking, wow, how lucky for her that she's learning about this and being able to identify this and live her life more authentically at a younger age. And I guess that for me, I'm 61 and I'm like, oh my God, I'm just getting to the party now. I think those are things that sort of I think about and want to know more about. And like, I can understand how it affected my earlier life, very much so.
Can you say a little bit about how for you it affected your younger years?
Well, I just feel like there was no room when I was growing up, especially where I grew up.
Which was
San Antonio, Texas. Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting because I grew up in a culturally Jewish family with culturally Jewish friends. Like, we weren't super religious at all. And there was a lot of very liberal thinking. So in my community, my closer community, it was very much like being gay was kind of a thing. It was acceptable. It was the 70s, and I was always curious about it. I was always curious about women. And, I grew up with Jodie Foster. I grew up with celebrities that were kind of boyish and cute. And those were on screen. I was like, they're cool. I love that they're just like who they are and they don't care about being girly. And, I never related to the girly crowd, ever related, but all my friends were very girly. Once the boy thing happened, that was the boy thing. And so we all had to be talking about the boys. And, so of course I did. And the boys I was attracted to eventually came out as gay. So like, I was in band, I was around music, I was around theater, I was around all of those, groups of people that tend to have a more open and fluid kind of relationship to themselves in the world. So while I knew it was around me, I still go, why did I let it affect me? Like, why didn't I bust out? Like, why didn't I identify earlier? Why was I so afraid to identify earlier when I felt like I had kind of familial acceptance and societal acceptance? Even though it was Texas, we were still kind of this little bubble in San Antonio. And Then I spent some time in Austin. I mean, I was around the kind of people that would be totally like, cool, you're great. That's great. Whatever.
Did you, when you say, I'm not sure why I was so afraid to be, to sort of show up how I was and like explore this, were you actually aware of being afraid? Like, were you shutting it down? Were you actively telling yourself like, no, don't do that? Like, was that consciousness there?
Oh, the consciousness was there and the curiosity
Okay.
was there.
Okay.
I mean, once I became sexually active in my teens, I didn't really enjoy sex at all with the boys I was with or the relationships. But I didn't know any lesbians. I didn't know any women. Like it just wasn't a thing. Like if I went out to bars even later, like with my gay friends, it was always gay bars, like male gay bars where we would go
Yes.
date, and that was like, so, and this is now, again, this is moving into the 80s when we have the AIDS crisis happening. And, in fact, the first person I was ever in a long-term relationship with who actually proposed to me, wanted to marry me, was a gay man. And knew he was gay. He knew he was gay. He had been out before, but we met each other. We just loved hanging out together. We loved being together. And I felt so safe with him. It wasn't sexual. Like we didn't really have we had an intimate relationship and not a sexual relationship. And for me, that was just like, fine. Like, cause I'm just so done with like this male stuff. So
Okay.
it's kind of one of those things, but I also knew that for me in my own fantasy life or in my own like, in my own like sexual fantasies or that kind of thing, or if I would see images of women having sex with each other, I was like, oh my God, like that was like, I never really looked at men like that, or I never got aroused like that. And so I knew it was there, and that's from my teens. But I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna keep that to the side, I mean, there was certainly some messaging in my family of origin around homosexuality, and that was there was an older half brother he was much older than he was already in college when I came along, and he came out. He came out, I think in the 70s, I want to say. He was like, I loved this guy. Like he was my favorite whenever he'd come over. He was the best. And my parents didn't banish him. There was no like grand, my God, he's gay. It was like, my mom was like, I always knew it. Like, she's like, okay, this makes a lot of sense. But she would tell other people when she told the story, she's like, but it killed his father. Like, oh my God, I think that's when his father decided to go out and have an affair. Oh, I think it was because he heard that he was gay and that like threatened his man. And maybe all that's true. I don't know, but that's what I
Oh,
heard. It was like,
mm.
yes, he's accepted. Yes, we love him. Oh my God, it really affected the people in our family in a negative way. So, I kind of had that in the back of my head. Yeah. So again, I just went through into my 20s. And the next person I met in college, also very effeminate, didn't identify as gay, but had a very androgynous, soft kind of personality, very quiet and studious and dark and deep and whatever. And that's the person I ended up marrying and having a child with, but it didn't last. And
How long
again,
was that? How long was that?
we were together all told about 8 years, but married for 5. In my 30s, I had gone away to a teacher training in New Hampshire and met a woman. I think I talked about this yesterday in the group, but it was my first catalyst. And I had seen her across the room. I had noticed her. She was tall, she was very androgynous, she was very like interesting looking, like caught my eye, but I wasn't gonna say anything to her. I was like married, I had a little girl, I had, the whole thing. Um, and then she came up and spoke to me. She's like, hi. And I'm like, hi. And she's like, you smiled at me. And I was like, I did. No, I didn't. You know,
Shit. Yeah.
like, oh yeah. So I did. I guess I did. And then, you know, sparks flew and, you know, but I'm like, hey, I'm married. I don't want to like that. I'm not a person that would, you know, cheat on somebody, but I knew that the marriage was really dead by that point. Like we weren't being very sexual. And I was like, well, because we have a young child and, you know, you kind of and I had just completely lost any interest in sex whatsoever with this person. And I was like, oh, see, this is it. I'm gay. Like, I was like, everything just makes sense, you know? Well, she eventually broke my heart. Uh, I, I don't know how you ever get over your first relationship in this sense, but I was devastated because I
Oh,
left the marriage.
you left the marriage. Okay.
I left the marriage. We were writing letters back then. Remember when people wrote letters?
Yes.
So she lived in a different part of the country and we were writing letters. And then the next summer we saw each other again. It was kind of like a Victorian relationship, you know, because it was like we would write these long, beautiful poems and letters. And it was just so luscious and lovely. And then we saw each other the next summer and, you know, it was on a lake. Yeah, it was. But I had already separated from my husband during that year. I was like, I'm gay. I'm leaving. I'm going. Like, we're living a lie, you know? And so she ended up moving to the town I lived in and then met and got together with another woman. And so I had to live with her in the community, you know, like where we were. And it was just awful. But I started dating other women and like I had one who was very interested, but I kept trying to make it work. I kept trying to make it fit. I kept trying to like show up and it just wasn't the same. It wasn't like I just couldn't do it. But and then I dated a series of women, nothing really long term, you know, it was here or there, but there was always just something that just didn't fit. And then moved to New York City for work in the early 2000s, about 2004. And started dating online, and I was dating both men and women, and that was crazy. So I was just like, I didn't know New York, so I got to know New York pretty well just by that. And
And what was it at that time that, like, prior to that, you were dating women, and then you moved to New York, and then you were like, "Yeah, I'm gonna date men and women." Like, how did that happen?
I guess I think it was kind of like maybe I'm just because I had been dating women and I was like, I'm just not finding anybody that I'm not compatible or attracted to, or maybe I'm not gay. Maybe I'm bi, maybe I don't, you know. So I
Okay.
think, but I still had very little sexual attraction to men. I just hadn't met like a woman, and I'm kind of a serial monogamist. I'm more like I don't like date for sport.
Mhm.
I like relationship, I like intimacy, I like depth, I like, you know, that to me is the stuff. And I just wasn't meeting that person. So then I was like, I think, well, maybe I'll try men again. Maybe I'll try, yeah, you know. And again, I started dating and I did meet one woman who we actually became really deep and close friends, but it didn't manifest into a relationship. I think we were both at very different places in our kind of where we were, and she's still a friend to this day. But I ended up meeting a man who, I don't know, I think at this point I was in my early 40s and I had been so like, blah, the dating. I hated dating. I hated it. I still do. So then I met this guy and I was like, I think I was just so beaten down by the dating scene in the city. It was just, I can't imagine what it is now. It's just like probably insane, but it's,
I'm in it. I'm in New York, so
you're in New York, you're in it. Yeah. And it was just, oh, it was so exhausting. I think I met somebody at the time when I was fully exhausted. I'm like, I'm sick of dating. I'm just going to get into a relationship. And I did. And it ended up being an 18-year relationship. But I think it would have been a shorter relationship had we actually cohabitated. So I sort of stayed with this 1 foot in, 1 foot out relationship with this person. He was steady, he was loyal, he was, working, he was employed, he was, and interesting and Jewish. And like, I don't know, we had a lot of cultural similarities and compatibility and sense of humor and intellect and all of those things. So like we had the first couple of years, it was sexual. We were only seeing each other once a week. So, he lived in Hoboken, I lived in the city, and I had a teenage daughter at home. So there was no way I was moving anybody in with her or moving her into anybody's home. Like that just to me, I was boundaries. Nope, not doing it. So didn't, but we would kind of go back and forth between the apartments and then see each other a little bit in the summer. And then he bought a house out in like 2 hours from the city. And so we were always going back and forth. And then it wasn't until COVID in 2020 that we cohabitated, like in his house outside of the
And
city.
I'm sorry, you did marry this person?
I did marry this person.
And so how long after you started dating and it's called LAT, like living apart together. Is that it's an actual relationship style that you were doing?
Yes.
So how long after you started dating and living apart together did you get married?
It was 6 years.
Okay. And
6 years.
what brought you to want to get married?
I don't know. I think security, stability, like, oh, he's my safety net. He's my person. Like, but I was deeply dissatisfied with the relationship. Like yeah. And I think that was that. And so I kind of wonder about that compulsory heterosexuality because I'm like, well, this is what you're supposed to do. Like you do this and this is the way it is. And, this is just the way it is.
Yeah.
And I hadn't met any women who I was finding that, but again, is that heteronormativity? Is that like, oh, you have to be like with one person? I don't know. So it's like how that played out. And then I stayed in it. And then once I had to actually live with him, 24/7 and literally 24/7 and feeling so isolated there, I was losing my mind, like losing my mind. And this job came up in Tucson in, in 2022 to come in person after I'd worked with them online. Um, I I said, well, I'm going. And he goes, well, maybe I don't want to go. And I said, maybe I don't want you to. And so we separated when I moved here. And he came to visit a couple of times. And I went back to New York a couple of times because I was still kind of like, I'm almost 60. This is going to be hard and weird. And then finally making the final decision was the best, most expansive decision I made. Like I remember hanging up on the phone with him after we decided. And I felt like my whole horizon just like expanded out in front of me.
Mm,
Yeah, but it's, I'm pissed. I'm pissed. I am
yeah.
so fucking pissed
Yeah. That's super valid.
that I wasted this time, like thinking, well, this is what you're supposed to do, and this is how you're supposed to be, okay, so yeah, so you're attracted to women sexually and emotionally and all those things, but okay, but that's but this is what you do. This is maybe who I am. So I'm not meeting anybody else. So
Yeah. And I guess, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things packed in there, but thanks for sharing. I mean, wow. That is, I mean, I'm sure there are lots and lots of people out there with very similar stories. And, I think what I'm hearing the most in your story is that, you know, you, you need to find a partner. You're a relational person, right? I'm a relational human. I need to find a partner. I'm trying. I did it with the men, was not enjoyable, not interested. I'm doing it with the women. Okay, this one, goddess that was androgynous and whatnot. That was so, your catalyst, which of course, I mean, our catalysts are always very impactful, especially when they're like very short. I don't know how short lived that was, but it doesn't sound like it was like years and years and years. Yeah.
it was maybe a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. So that just
Me-
yeah, that leaves you kind of like hanging after that. And I can just talk for a minute about my catalyst,
Hmm.
who I ended up in an 8-year relationship with, who
Wow.
I left my marriage and like I was married and met her while I was married and told my husband that I wanted a divorce
Mm.
and was with her for 3 years of living with him and going through a litigious divorce with 3 kids under 5. And then I moved in with her. And so we had the full range of a relationship that didn't end up working for many reasons. But even after it ended, it took 2 more years to actually really let it go because we kept trying to get back together. And for me, I mean, we were both each other's first woman relationship. So, and she was 6 years younger than me. So it was so hard. Like I would date other women after this relationship with her. And I just couldn't find, I mean, these were dynamic and attractive women, but it didn't matter. Like I couldn't find what I had with her, which is
Yeah.
kind of what I was looking for. And I was just like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And I kept going back to her, went back 3 times. It didn't end up working. And then it was finally really dead. Like I waited till it was not breathing anymore. Like it was really, really dead. I was like, I have no attraction to you anymore. And then we ended. But I get it, having a catalyst, this kind of catalyst that leaves you in the middle of all those feelings and then it just ends right there. I mean, it's like, what do you do with all those feelings, you know?
Right. And I'm kind of coming out of a second catalyst in this second phase of my life with this woman that I met in December of last year and got swept into a very intense, but very short lived because I ended up going, oh, no, this isn't not, but I still love her. Like there's still so much about her that is, I don't, I don't want the other parts, but I want some of the parts, you know. I just need somebody who's more,
But what I'm hearing is going back to the other story is that, you dated, you couldn't find anyone, you went to New York. A lot of people say like, oh my God, you live in New York City. Like, wow, you have like the choice, the best choice of women out there. But I mean, it's a small community. It's just not easy. Like it really isn't easy.
yeah,
And what I hear is that in those moments where it hasn't been easy, that there's been this like, well, maybe let me just see what the guys are like, let me just see what's up with the guys out there.
yeah,
Right. So, and then it's like, well, like somehow I'm supposed to be in a relationship,
right.
right? I mean, that's, this is also part of what we learn, right? So it's compulsory heterosexuality. It's also that if you're single in the world, somehow you have less value. That this idea that we have less value, that's how we feel, right? It's also, I've been single for almost 2 years now. I'm also a serial monogamist and I've had 5 long-term relationships with women over 25 years. And being single is like, it's like a practice of its own.
I agree. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but it's uncomfortable and most people don't like doing it. I mean, it's uncomfortable when you are used to just being in a relationship. Be, yeah. And it being uncomfortable. Like it's uncomfortable when you're really wanting and looking and wanting and looking at that relationship. It's like, I don't want to be single. I want to have a partner. I want to experience having a partnership and I'm a relational person and I should be in a partnership.
right.
So yeah, I think a lot of that is conditioning.
I think that's conditioning too. And since I split up with this last person, a couple of things though. I think that this relationship, though it was very quick and very intense and it didn't last very long, it showed me things about myself and my patterns in relationships that I've been dragging from one relationship to the other unconsciously. And
Mm.
I think that's one of the things that, I mean, I am actually grateful for this relationship. I'm sorry it didn't work, but in some ways I feel like there was a reason that I was in unknowingly. But now that I've had like some real time to reflect on this, because she kept saying things to me like, you're acting like a straight woman. It's that caretaker or taking on a certain role as a woman in a heterosexual relationship that she was noticing. And at first I was like kind of offended that she was saying that. And I'm like, wait, am I? What does that mean? And how did I learn that? How do I unlearn that? And I think the only way we unlearn that is by learning to take care of ourselves and go, well, I'm not looking for someone to take care of me, and I'm not looking for someone to take care of before I know and can take care of myself. Like, be that thing internally and for yourself that you're constantly just giving to others, just giving, giving, giving. And, I'm going to fix everything and I'm going to make everything whole and you're going to make me whole. And I know that's not like some new profound thought. It's out there, but it's not something that I ever really understood until I got to the other side of this relationship. And it's exciting. It's scary. It's uncomfortable. But I think what I learned was I'm not going back to men. Like, I really do love women. I really love being in the presence and the company, the bedroom of women. Like, that is who I am. And I've been hiding that for many years. So that's confirming for me. And
And
then,
freeing.
and freeing and freeing. And so, but I think like what I put in the comments was that, like, I'm looking at this year or two, I don't know, of just like the gen reconstruction years, you know, kind of like, how do I, you know, understand my past in a way that's informing my present and then can create a future that I'm hoping for or imagining. There's also the construct of time pressure. I'm 61. Oh my God, I'll never meet anybody again because I'm an older woman in the world. So, you feel that weird pressure and you feel all of those things, even though, like, in my body and my mind, I feel like I'm 20. I, I'm 61 and that's who I am. And I'm embracing that. So it's embracing a lot of things that I used to see as uncomfortable or as things in the world that people see as less than, like being single, being an older woman. I mean, when I was going to divorce my husband, I had people, going, oh my God, you're going to be alone. Oh my God, it's going to be so hard. And, maybe it's just better to stay in it and just be there, and I'm like, I'm suffocating. I had to go into therapy. I was having so much anxiety. Every time he'd come to visit, I was like, I can't breathe. I don't want this person in my life, but why am I just like not cutting off? Fear. Like, there's this fear,
Yeah.
like, well, you're an older woman. You may not meet, anybody else. You're going to be like, alone. I would rather be alone than, feeling this anxiety, this inauthenticity, and this like fake life. You get a lot of pressure. You get a lot of societal pressure to show up a certain way, to be a certain way. And I'm like, so now I'm not really looking for a relationship. I know I'm not ready for a relationship. I'm still processing what just happened, and I'm still trying to really, really get in there and go, who am I? Because I can't be with anybody until I really understand all of this. And, so that's the work that I'm working on unpacking right now. It's why I joined your group. I'm doing some other groups. And I just feel like it's kind of a time period of reconstruction, though I still want community. Like, I still want to have gay women in my life because most of my friends are heterosexual. They're either married or not married, but they're still like it's very hetero. And I still feel like I'm still showing up in the world like that. And it's just really hard to find community, especially in a town where, I don't really know anybody.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't know where it is that you are. I don't know if they have like LGBTQ center or if they have like meetups, and you have meetups. So like you can do like lesbian meetup, queer meetup, LGBTQ meetup. I mean,
Hmm.
there's definitely hiking where you are. So like, I don't know if you like to hike, but like you'll certainly find the lesbians there.
Yeah.
And so there are ways to reach out to community around like-minded activities that many lesbians do. So that's one way to kind of
Yeah.
start to try to find community, or volunteering for something from the LGBTQ center, any of their events, just going and volunteering. Then you get to meet some people. These are all ways to start meeting people. But I hear you and I get it. And yeah, it's really a journey. So let me just understand. So you had this catalyst, the initial one, that you left your marriage. You had a little relationship with this person for a while. And then after that, you just were dating, then you moved, you were dating, and then you end up with a man. So you didn't really have like a full on relationship with a woman again until this one that you
Until
just
this.
had. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So like in a way, you're kind of like a baby gay.
I am again. I am. Like,
Yeah. Like you're new. You're kind of, I mean, yeah, like this is new, and there is so much to unpack, and there is so much to unlearn. It is really different being in the, whether you call it the queer community or the lesbian community. Certainly the late bloomer community, I think, is a very accepting and loving one for everybody that's coming out, after being straight. I'm not going to say this is only for those of us that came out late, because I do have friends or past partners who were lifelong lesbians who also lived very much based on conditioning. So I think we all get a lot of the conditioning, but some of it is very gendered. Like the conditioning is a very gendered conditioning.
yes.
Some of it is just, you're supposed to find your one person and be with that person forever. And even if it sucks, you're supposed to just stay, because if you don't, you might be alone.
Oh my God. Right.
That's the worst. Like being alone is the worst. I mean, you're not safe if you don't have a man. You're just, I mean, where are you? Like, what are you without a man?
Yeah.
So this
Yeah.
is the mentality, right?
Yeah.
On top of just the general conditioning, which is you're supposed to find your one person and be with that one person forever and make it work. And even if it's bad, and it's really bad, everybody goes through hard times. Like you
Right.
just stick with it and keep going through those hard times because you committed to this thing. And divorce is stigmatizing. And right. So, I mean, layers and layers of conditioning around
Exactly.
all of this. And
Yeah.
then there's the other piece that you talked about, and I know you brought this up in our group yesterday about fawning as a trauma response, and then people pleasing, which they kind of can layer on top of one another. But even if you didn't grow up in an environment where you needed to fawn in order to survive, which many of us have, even without that, we still are influenced by the conditioning that we have as women, which is to be pleasing and to be lovely. And like my mom used to say to me, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. That's how I grew up. So it was like, okay, I'm only allowed to say nice things. I mean, what the hell?
What are you crying for? Why are you crying? What's with the crying? What's, like you got a good life. Well, what's with the crying? Like I got
Yeah,
that. Like what's
yeah,
with the feelings?
yeah. Yeah. So, and yes. And we talked about this also yesterday about all the ways our family of origin were unable to hold whatever our emotions were and just validate them. Like, oh, I can see you're feeling really sad right now. Let's talk about it. Tell me what's
Yeah.
going on.
Right.
No, that was not possible. It was, stop crying. Why are you making such a big deal about this?
Right. What's the
Right.
big deal? What's the big
Right.
deal? What's with the tears? Yeah. Made my family very uncomfortable.
Right. So here's the disconnect. Here's the wire is now snipped. Right? You were born to feel, you were born to have your core emotions, and you grow up in a family and they're like, this one's not okay here. Snip. And then you disconnect, and you're sad, but what's the big deal? So I'm in this marriage and I don't really like being around the person, but like, what's the big deal? I mean, I should be able to just do this.
And he was constantly calling me out. Like he was like, you're so distant. You don't want to this. What? Oh, I've done so much for you, and here we're living together, and I feel like I lost my voice. I really felt like very much like I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to get into it. Like, I don't want to. And
Avoidant.
the more I did that, I remember once we separated and I was here in Tucson, I was out with a friend and my adult child had come to town and we were sitting there and somebody said something to me like, well, how do you feel? Like, how are you feeling? We were talking about emotions. We were talking about like the marriage and all that. And I said, I actually just feel numb. I had numbed myself. I had completely disconnected from my feeling life, from my sexual life, from my intellectual life. Like I was sleepwalking in such a fog of couldn't even identify how I was feeling,
Yes.
what my dreams were, my passion or my this or my I had nothing. It all went away. So it took it took such discomfort in being in his presence. It took such a big even with this last relationship I was in, I noticed like I was still doing that. Like even when I was with her, the second like this recent one, like it took something really big for me to say this isn't okay with me. Like I'm not this doesn't feel right and I'm going to prioritize myself. So when I say like that relationship was there to show like, hey baby, you're not done with this yet. You got a lot of work to do before you ever try to jump into something else again. And because I actually had to have like close friends go, no, that's abuse. Like no, that's, you need to leave. Like my therapist, even when I got involved with this person, she said, is it connection or is it just familiar? Like, is it something familiar? Like, oh, I can fix this. Oh, I can make this work, And I was like, ooh, and I didn't listen to her. I still plowed right ahead and went right into it. It was very interesting to learn,
Yeah.
but we conditioned to be nice, to be quiet, to not stand up for ourselves because then we're just bitchy, bossy women. And I just learned to shut up and comply. And I think a lot of women have. And I'm so interested in this that, I mean, like, I feel like, I don't know. I just want to scream at somebody. I mean, I'll go hike for a hike and scream into the canyon, but I think the education, and I love what you're doing, and I think that there just needs to be more education out there around this, especially for young women. Like, and I work around young teenagers where I work, and I've lifelong, been an educator, and like I'm kind of feeling a whole new like rage of passion coming up around like, how do I channel this into something for good? It's like, okay, yeah, shitty, it happened to me, whatever, I'm over it, I'll move on, I'll get over it, I'll live. I'm actually happy, kind of right, like weirdly happy right now. But also like this should be in every school. Like every child should learn this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. I mean, yes, this is,
accurate.
yes. Yes. I mean, I've been on that soapbox now for a number of years with all of this. So very much, I very much relate. A couple things I just wanted to go back to that you had said. One of them about, I mean, this last relationship really taught you stuff about yourself, and also it taught you how to start having boundaries
Yeah.
and using your voice.
Yeah.
And one thing that I talk to a lot of clients about, I'm a therapist and also a coach. So I do a lot of, working with therapy clients as well, is sometimes I have clients that come in and they're just like, like I really need to work on myself. So, for now, I'm just not going to date while I'm working on myself. And the thing is that like this lesson that you got, you would not have learned this if you had just been with yourself. So I really respect you wanting to take the time. It sounds like it's a very new breakup and you're just kind of, going through and processing it and whatnot. So of course, take your time. But I also really want to encourage you to, because when I said you're baby gay, like this was the first like real relationship, it sounds like. The last one was more of like an infatuation and
We
long
moved
distance.
together. Like we were the all lesbians. We just like I was living in her house. I had sold all my furniture. We were going to move to Europe together. We were like, we were.
The first one?
This is this one. This
This
past
one. Okay. Okay. Well, a
that one.
couple things. Yeah, a
Yeah,
couple things I want to say. One is you just lived through the lesbian U-Haul experience that every lesbian experiences at some point. And
yeah.
that if you haven't listened to my episode from a few weeks ago, which is called The Significance of 2 Years, you should.
I did, but I hate it. I hate every minute of it.
I mean, this is red fucking flag in the biggest way. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Know something for 2 years. That's what you're saying.
takes 2 years to know somebody enough to know if you're going to commit to them. I mean, I get it that people move in together faster because if you're spending all that time together and you're each paying rent, it can also make sense. But like when things are so rapid, which they are with women, I mean, they just are because we're intense creatures. There's a lot of emotionality.
Yes.
We just rev each other up in this way where it's like, whoa, it gets really hot really fast. But also it doesn't have like, then just stay with that, but don't make any huge decisions. Don't make any huge decisions in that time period because
We're making so many huge decisions that we never ever should have been making. And then
right. So that's a very baby gay experience. Like that's an experience that we have when we first come out.
yeah.
And it's like, I did the same thing. And I had 3 kids under 5 and I'd been married for 7 years and with him for 11 years. And after 5 weeks of meeting her, I said, I want to get a divorce.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was a hugely blew up my life, which I'm not sorry that I ended the divorce. He's very
Yeah.
happily married.
Yeah.
He has been for a long time. I am gay, but I could have gone about it in a way where I wasn't high on, lesbian crack, which is what was happening at that moment, Anyway, I just want to say red flag, the fast moving. I mean, enjoy the excitement, but don't make any big decisions.
Yes.
Also, don't not have a relationship because you're trying to work on yourself because you're not going to get as much information about yourself and be able to work on yourself when you're just with yourself. Although I think being good with yourself is really important. Like I think it's important to learn how to be alone and to not even really be dating and to just be at ease and feel peaceful and feel happy. But you don't need to do that for like years.
No, so that's, I mean, it's funny because I'm like, I don't want to be in a relationship, but I want to meet people, but I don't want to be in a relationship, but I want to meet people, like when you meet people, you don't know. I mean, you might like get to know them over a period of time and then something might happen, but I'm not rushing to jump into like another usual experience. Like that was, even as I was doing it, I had this little voice going, what the hell are you doing? Like, what the hell are you doing? Like, you don't even know this person. I know you think she's super hot and intelligent and funny and all those great things, but like, what are you doing? Because I love my independence. I actually like my own space. Like, through my entire marriage, I think I really do enjoy having my own space. I mean,
because today you can have an LAT with another person. Like most women that are at our phase, I mean, I'm not going to say most because maybe that's not true, but a lot of women really don't want to move in together. We've built our lives. We have our homes. We want to spend time together, but we don't need to give everything up.
No. And that's
right?
the thing is like even the 2 couples that I met through this person I was with, both couples are around our age. They're in their 60s. I think they're all in their 60s. I remember my partner saying to me, like, it's so weird. They live apart. Like there were these 2 who just retired, both wonderful, intelligent, successful women. And they're renting houses right next to each other. They live
beautiful. So beautiful.
great. I'm like, duplex, yes, like have it so you can see each other and then you can go home and be as messy as you want or be as whatever, because those are the things that kill relationships mostly, is living together and getting on each other's nerves.
Absolutely. And all the domestic stuff and
I would cook dinner. I would I would get the groceries. And then I started falling into that. And I'm just like, why the fuck aren't you getting the groceries?
exactly.
Why the fuck am I cooking all the time? And I didn't, I kind of started going, well, you're playing this man role and I'm playing the woman role. Like, what the fuck? Like, why is this happening? And I knew I didn't like it. I didn't like who I was in that relationship. And I kept looking at myself going, what are you doing? Like, I don't want to be waiting on anybody. And so the dynamic just didn't really work out. But she would say, I don't understand how they can live apart like that. If you want to be together, you should be together and you should be having, in the same place. And I go, well, I don't know. There really actually is something to it. Like, I think it's a healthy way to be. Honestly, I mean, economics is what really drives most people to have to live together. But we all know that, I mean, even when I was married, I would have a lot of married people say to me, like, oh my God, you have like your own place. That's the dream.
I've had friends that are married and live with their partners say, like, if we lived together 50% of the time, that would be perfect. Like, if 50% of the time I could be in my own space and the other 50% of the time we could be together. And I had a relationship during COVID for 3 years where that was the case. We lived together every other week, and every other week we were apart. And I thought it was perfect. I could not have been happier.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, all things to think about. And the one other thing I wanted to say to you was, we don't get through this, like, you don't get to where you are and have lived the experience you've lived without allowing a lot of grieving.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there is a component of grieving to this life where the conditioning is such that you have not been able to fully be connected to who you are for all these external reasons that affected you, that one of the pieces of getting through this is grieving.
Mm.
And like it has to come. It has to come. Nobody likes grieving. I mean, we're a society that doesn't really support grieving. We don't know what to do with grieving. Nobody likes to hear grieving. Being sad is just kind of like, what do you do with being sad? Like I can spend 5 minutes with a sad person and then I'm done. This is the society we live in. But I just want to say there is a lot of inherent grief
Yeah.
when you've lived your life under this kind of conditioning and time has gone by. There's freedom, there's expansion, there's possibility. That's all real. That's out there.
Yeah.
But the grieving for what happened, that is real. And that needs space and expression and processing. So I just wanted to say that because I mean, I still grieve and I've been out for 24 years now, and I still grieve for things.
Right.
It's just part of this.
Yeah. And another part of that, and I still, I'm like, that's getting in touch with that grief again. Like, what are you crying for? What are you crying for? Like, that's something I have to really kind of dig up and be okay sitting with it and not trying to like tamp it down in any way or like avoid it. And I think that we also we try to avoid grief or we avoid anger or we avoid these big feelings that we have. And so I'm also trying to be mindful of not getting so busy that I forget about I forget to go through the process of grieving. And I am still grieving this past relationship because it was so intense and so fast. And there were so many things that I loved about her and I love about her, but we can't be together. And it's that I'm very sad about that, but I'm also very sad about the 18 years I spent. And I'm sad about, having not lived a fuller, more authentic life. I mean, I want to say to all the younger women in our group, it's like, honey, don't wait, like be who you are. Oh,
Yes.
waste another minute as one of the elders, just like don't let your life pass you by without fully living it.
But how do I do that? And that is where I have a program. I don't know if you know about my Unbox Your Sexuality program, but the youngest member of our group just joined, and a few of the other members have already done it or are going through it. But it literally takes you through unpacking, unlearning, and unleashing. It's like, yeah, don't waste another minute, but how? How do I do this? And people don't know, where do I start? How do I start? And this is literally a sequential program starting from childhood, unpacking everything, learning about, you talk about, the inability to have certain emotions. And I would say, yes, you have parts of you that don't let you feel certain things because of what you learn. It teaches you how to work with your parts so that you can soften them, so that you actually understand why these parts are there. It's all based in IFS, which is internal family systems. The program is based in that. So, but it's hard. Like, it's hard without that. It's really hard to do what you're saying, which is like, honey, go live your life, because
Yeah. How? Like, how do you undo that, unbox it? Like, yeah, live that, so it's really, it's a process. I mean, some of us are just like, I'm like a bull in a china shop. I'm like, I'm gay, I'm jumping out in the world. And then I'm like, whoops, I brought myself with me.
yeah. Wait a second.
I thought I learned something and look at me. And so, yeah, that's my personality, is just to be like, damn the torpedoes, I'm going. And then I find myself in a new relationship and I'm like, but I'm still doing that thing, but I'm still not tapping into this or being able to say what I need. And that's going to happen whether you're in a straight relationship or a gay relationship. It doesn't matter. It's your work relationships, your friend relationships. Like, it's learning to do that. I'm learning. I'm really feeling a lot more fierce in
I
these,
love that for you.
old age, that whatever.
I mean, I've had women in their 70s in my cohorts and in my Unbox Your Sexuality program. And I always say, you're never too old to do this work, and you're never too old to be authentically who you are.
That's good to know.
Well, it's been such a pleasure talking with you and hearing
Yeah.
about all of your life experiences. And, I hope for those people that are out there listening that they can take a thing or two from lived experiences, yours or mine, and,
Yeah.
think about this conditioning and how powerful and how impactful it is. And that, there are ways to do the work to unpack and unlearn, and it's really worth it, because I always say, we've got one time through in this human suit. And that's like something I say all the time. And then I say, what are you waiting for? Because it's like, it's now, like that right now, do it,
Do it. Yep.
do it. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
It's worth it.
yeah. So thanks so much. And
Thank you.
I'll see you in group.
Yes, you will.
Okay. All right, Jen.
Samantha. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for spending this time with me on Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps more folks find these conversations. If you're ready to unbox from something that's keeping you stuck, I would love to support you. You can find the application to the show at unboxyoursexuality.com. Let's stay connected. Find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Lesbian Curiosity Coach. Give me a follow and join the conversation. Remember, we only have this one time through. Why not unbox yourself and let your true self shine in all its beautiful glory?